Greetings from Mel.
Greetings from Sim.
It is our pleasure to have you with us for another B.O.O.K podcast moment. B.O.K, our book, also known as Building Our Own Knowledge, is a co-created cloud for interrogating, finding, making, and sharing experiences and knowledge on our own terms.
This podcast is brought to you by the labor of love of B.O.O.K working group members Sim Mendes and Melisandre Varan. The music carrying us through is by B.O.O.K working group member and commissioned artist Samir Saunders. Samir brought their sonic waves to its final form by reading All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. We thank our loving ancestors for using our beings as vessels.
We hope you whine or wave with this DIY podcast as much as we do.
Hello, and we are back again. I hope you're happy to hear my voice because it's me, it's Sim. I am here on behalf of B.O.O.K book, Building Our Own Knowledge. And today I'm here with Eve, and I'm super excited. Eve is like a really dear friend of B.O.O.K. And yeah, she's always been there to support us along our journey. So I'm really excited to get to be in conversation with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited and super stoked to be here. So yeah, incredible.
So as you all know, I'm Sim. I am the book's artist facilitator, artist liaison, and a podcast producer. But I'm going to hand it over to Eve. So I'm going to ask you, who are you? What do you do? And yeah, your sign, and what do you care about today?
I love that you said that with a bit of a London Sim. As you know, I'm sort of relocated to the Midlands. Originally, I'm a Londoner, but I think my heart is in the space that I'm in at the moment. So, we've been here for about 8 years. So I think I can kind of claim it a little bit. But my full name is Evelyn Duah. I'm an actress. I am a teacher, a facilitator, a mentor, a practitioner of the performing arts. And most of all, I just describe myself as a lover of life. I'm many other things. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and all of those things as well. But most importantly, I am a lover of life. So that's what I do. I forgot, what else did you want me to say? Did you want me to tell you a bit more about what I do and how that works?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, so originally I come from London, and when I was in London, I'm a master of many things. I never like to do one thing, so I like to keep my hat in many spaces. So as well as teaching drama, I trained as an actor. I came into the art as a child, so worked professionally as an actor, and had a fantastic mentor teacher by the name of Anna Schuer, who set up the Anna Schuer Theatre, which is very renowned for developing talent in its local environment, but mostly for basically giving, I guess, working class kids an opportunity to step into the arts, which I'm mad passionate about, because that isn't easy this day and age. If you aren't a trust fund baby, or you don't have people to support you, it's a real struggle. So that's how I kind of came into it. And because I loved what she did, and she was my mentor, I traveled with her. We did workshops in India and Zimbabwe. And it just opened my eyes to just how important drama is as a practice, in terms of enabling people the opportunity to express themselves. And her practice began with sort of working with working class kids that weren't very literate, so they couldn't pick up a script, so they used improvisation, and it gave them a freedom that other sort of trained young actors didn't have, because they were very raw and very real. So when I practice, I use improvisation a lot. It's about kind of thinking on your feet, the spark of kind of just making it up and seeing where it goes, is what I do. And because of that, it enabled me to work with young people, and I've always had a passion for young people. I've always kind of been, well, I was young myself once, so the need to have someone advocate for you and celebrate you, and not conditions you to stereotypical tropes is really important, particularly as, you know, a young Black artist or, you know, a person of color, however you define yourself. I think that's so important. So for me, it was kind of like there weren't very many people that I saw when I was young flash up to kind of, I guess, champion and represent. And so when I did find people that did do that, or, you know, when I began to understand that more, I always wanted to be one of those people that made sure that that I opened spaces that enabled other young people to kind of step into them and feel welcome. So my practice is very much a celebration of the individual. It's embracing, it's very loving, it's kind, it's understanding, but it's developmental. So it is more, I always work from a place of constructive criticism. I want to build people, not break people down. It's a very long-winded sentence, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that lovely introduction. And as a final sort of one mini question and one larger question, what's your sun sign, like your star sign, and what do you care about today?
Oh, well, so many things. Well, my star sign is Aries, so I'm a little fire sign, I believe. And very much an Aries baby. Like, people that know star signs are like, they know me and they kind of go, yeah, you're one of those pocket rocket people that kind of come in and goes, and, you know. So yes, the baby of the zodiac sign as well, I believe. So yeah, I'm an Aries. And remind me, what was the other thing that you wanted to know?
And what do you care about today?
Oh, what do I care about? The plight of human beings. Can I say that? It's so big. I care about the plight of human beings, my race, my people. I care about kindness, humanity, humility. I care about enabling people to just be. And that means to be able to live and laugh and, you know, and grow and be accepted for whoever and whatever they may be, in all shapes, forms. I care massively about that. But for me, the epitome of that comes back down to just being kind to oneself and to others, expressing the need to treat other people the way you wish to be treated. I spend a lot of time saying that to my kids, that actually, you know what, is that nice? Is that kind? Is that understanding? And that's not to do it from a kind of a passive way, because sometimes kindness is aggressive in making sure that you take care of you. You can't take care of anything else unless you begin with yourself. So whatever the need is, do what's necessary for you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna pass the baton to myself, and I'll do a quick intro. As people already know, my name is Sim. I work with B.O.O.K as the artist liaison, etc. I'm also a movement artist, a facilitator, community worker, performer occasionally. And I'm an Aries sun also. Feeling like the firecracker vibes. And I'm also a Pisces moon and a Sagittarius rising. So I have a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings running around that come out in varying ways. And yeah, today specifically, I care about feeling comfort and feeling like held, having lots of tea and like nourishing myself with like home cooked meals, you know, all of the good things. And on the wider scale, I care about expansion. I care about communing with other people and connecting with others, people who I may have things in common with, people who are like completely on the opposite spectrum of who I am. I care about understanding, because I think with understanding and comprehension of other people, of the world that I live in, it helps me to become more nuanced as a person and not see things in such a black and white way. And I think we need a lot more gray when we're having certain discourses, when we're holding space for others. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
Wow, it's amazing, amazing.
Thank you, I try. So
There's no trying, you're just being.
that is true. So I wonder if you would like to share your extract first, maybe what it means to you, who it's by, and then you can read away.
Okay, so the extract that I've chosen is from one of the late Dr. Maya Angelou's, I think it's probably the last piece that she wrote, which is titled Letter to My Daughter. She never actually had a daughter. She had a son, Bailey, I believe it is, his name was. I have been I discovered Maya Angelou when I was about 10 years old, which is quite young. And the reason I discovered it is my dad, whenever he used to travel, he used to buy a book for me. And he brought this book. And so the first book of Maya Angelou's was the autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So for a 10-year-old to read that book was pretty powerful, but I gobbled it up. And when I say gobbled it, I mean I ate every word and I lived on it. And actually when I went to university and I did my my Bachelor of Arts in Performing Arts, my main special exercise was based on the works and poetries of Maya Angelou and Nina Simone, whose lives had kind of synergized towards the end of, well, not Maya Angelou's life, but sort of towards the end of the sort of late 70s, early 80s. They kind of met, I mean, she met everybody, she knew everybody in one way or another, but both of whom hold great great inspiration. They're both those women hold so much inspiration for me. I mean, if I had an opportunity to have, you know, two people at a dinner table, I would definitely want to sit down and break bread with them. I know they're no longer here, but they're just you know, just meteoric in terms of the impact that they had in my life. So the piece that I chose is called Surviving. And the reason that I've chosen that is because a long time ago, not so much now, a long time ago, I felt like I was just surviving. And I say that in the sense that, you know, as artists, life is a struggle. I was a single parent for a very long time. And when you're, even actually going back to when I was at university with my son. So we literally have grown up, my eldest son, we literally grown up together. And again, particularly that period, I felt like I was just kind of surviving. It was kind of like, okay, get your essays done, get your rehearsals done, get your. And it wasn't so much that I felt like I really had time to enjoy it. I was just doing it. And I'm very much a person of now, in retrospect, that looks at life and thinks that you have to do more than survive. You have to thrive. You have to grow from that experience, or whatever it may be, no matter how traumatic. I know we hold those things in our body, and I know you as a movement practitioner will really kind of understand how we hold things physically in our muscles, in our, you know, in our memory, in our emotional memory, in our physical memory. So for me, I've picked this piece because it is to me, it's more than surviving. And if you know of the work of Dr. Angelou, she did more than that. Everything she did, she kind of went through some pretty traumatic experiences, but she thrived. And I think that's the inspiration that I take from that. And I think that's as my practice as an artist, as a practitioner, it's all about thriving. It's about growing through whatever you go through, and not just to do it, but to kind of come out of it and be able to kind of go, whoa, no matter how difficult or traumatic that experience has been, this is what has come from it. So yeah, that's the piece that I've chosen. So Surviving. Where the winds of disappointment dash my dream house to the ground, and anger octopus-like wraps in tentacles around my soul. I just stop myself. I stop in my tracks and look for one thing that can heal me. I find in my memory one's child's face, any child's face, looking at a desired toy with sweet surprise. A child's face with hope, expectations in its eyes. The second I realize that I am gazing at a face sweet with youth and innocence, I am drawn away from gloom and despair and into the pleasing climate of hope. Each time my search for true love leads me to the gates of hell where Satan waits with open arms, I imagine the laughter of women friends, their sounds tinkle like wind charms urged by searching breezes. I remember the steady guffalo of happy men and my feet without haste and without purpose move past the threatening opening gates and into an area secure from the evil of heartbreak. I am a builder. Sometimes I have built well, but often I have built without researching the ground upon which I am putting my building. I raised a beautiful house and lived in it for a year. Then it slowly drifted away with tides, for I had laid the foundation upon shifting sand. Another time I erected a mansion, the windows shining like mirrors and the walls were hung with rich tapestry, but the earth shook with silent tremor and the walls gave way and the floors opened. And my castle fell into pieces around my feet. The emotional sway of events and the imponence of construction echo the ways of my dying love. I have found that the platonic affection in friendships and the familiar love from children can be relied upon with certainty to lift the bruised soul and repair the wounded spirit. And I am finished with erotic romance until...
Oh, gotta do the clicks. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, reading Maya Angelou at 10 years old and like absorbing that and sort of taking her word as a foundation for you to like move forward is so like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, obviously, Maya, I think she fell pregnant when she was about 13 or 14 years old. And I fell pregnant when I was 18 years old. And but I remember sort of telling a friend's mum that I was pregnant. They were like, that's it, your life is older. And yeah, I'd read this book about this woman who had gone through everything and had a child, hadn't finished her education, but went back and studied. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. But she did it. And I think, again, it's like, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. So me getting that book at such a young age, I think was the catalyst that made me believe that, you can do anything you want to, and you can have anything you want, not necessarily in the time that you want. But honestly, I believe that if you work towards it, you set your intention there, you do everything to make it happen, it will eventually happen, not necessarily in your time, but in its time. So
and I think that's the important marker of like what you want can come to you, but not necessarily in the time frame in which you are expecting it to come. And I think that thing of like letting go and just pouring your energy out there and knowing that it's going to come back to you in the time that's right for you is like, perfect. And literally like the way that Maya Angelou describes these things, like the octopus tentacles, and it's almost like understanding platonic friendship and love and building these new foundations. It just feels like a burst, do you know what I mean? Like a burst of joy. And then it makes me think of what you were saying beforehand of like bursting through this idea of survival mode, this monotonous gray like rhythmic thing, and just bursting out into like tasting what life actually is. That's so beautiful. Thank you.
It's just like it was nice to kind of have to go back there, and I read your questions and I thought they were incredible questions and so powerful that they really kind of put me. But this is what I love about B.O.O.K is that it's the inspiration to kind of, or the invitation, should I say, to open up the way in which we think and feel and look and explore And you know, I'm gutted that I've missed the last couple of ones, but to kind of be here and sit and yeah, and kind of just digest it all. Like, yeah, I talk a lot about eating. I'm definitely a foodie in that in that sense. I'm definitely one that loves to kind of feed on feelings, on knowledge, on power, on words, on expression, on art, on music. All of that is a different type of food for different hungers, aren't there? There are many ways in which we feel hungry, for whether it be for love, or whether it be for just the ability to exist, or knowledge, or understanding, or, you know, the need to move is in itself something that we kind of, I think, digest and explore that. So and because she was, again, an actor, a dancer, a performer, a singer, all of the things that we do, just a creative being, it's so encouraging to kind of go back and read her story, and her poetry as well is just phenomenal. So yeah,
it's like a nostalgic coming back, and I think it's going to tie in nicely with my extract / lyrics, like this coming back home to something. So rereading Maya Angelou and just being like, oh my gosh, yeah, like these reminders, and being able to feed ourselves, and also remembering that Maya Angelou was wild. Like, she was wild, you know, like this level of like disciplined or anything like that. And also she broke through in her career like pretty late, as people say. So yeah, I think she's such an inspiration in so many ways, and it's a nice reminder that we can loosen up a little bit, a reminder to just live life and know that what's for us, like you say, old when it's ready.
And she was that. She's just, you know, a lover of life. I love that expression. To kind of love life is to love every living thing, is to love every moment of it, is to, and sometimes we can be quite kind of, what's the word that I'm looking for, you know, nonchalant about it, just to, you know, just know that it's there. But you know, I always go with that, guys, it's tomorrow's never promised, and every minute is just that in itself. It's never going to be repeated. So that's quite exciting in a way, to kind of like have someone remind you of that, even though they're not here anymore, but through their words, it's kind of like, you know, I lived as a dancer, I lived as a young girl who was completely lost in the world. I lived as someone that, you know, chose to be mute for a long period of time. And in that, the conversations that she must have heard.
Like this level of observation and like opening your world when you just choose not to talk. It's just, wow. And yeah, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of what you've touched on is gonna resonate with these lyrics. So I chose a song. So yeah, this is the first time in this podcast that I'm choosing lyrics, because I was like, I've gone through different texts, academic texts, nonfiction texts, essays, and I was like, today, like, what is it that resonates with me? And I think similar to you, sort of having these full circle moments and going back to something that helped us through a thing, you know, or like reminds us of something. So FK Twigs is an artist, like musician, dancer, performer, and she has this song called Home With You, and sort of like text at the beginning. And one, I like FK Twigs before because she inspires me in lots of ways. She's very sort of creative, thinking outside the box, very experimental, very respectful of the art forms that she finds inspiration from. And I know that she went through a really difficult period, and this song just sort of reflects that. And I listened to it when a few years ago when I was also going through a really difficult time, and I felt similar to you when you were saying about survival. It felt like every day it's just putting one foot. Can you hear me? Okay, technical difficulties 101, but we're back. So I was saying that Eve's extract and talking about Maya Angelou sort of fed into my extract, which is actually song lyrics by FKA Twigs. And FKA Twigs is just an inspiration on so many different levels. She's sort of an experimental musician, dancer, performer, overall artist. And she wrote this song, Home With You, I think at like a sort of difficult time in her life. And when I was listening to it a few years ago, it was also when I, like you were saying, in survival mode, you know, putting one foot in front of the other, just trying to get by. And I was listening to this song like quite a lot, just like repeating it over and over again, because I felt like I was at a time in my life where people were just sort of, it just felt like people were extracting from me, and I just felt empty, and I didn't really know how to fill myself back up again. So yeah, this sort of resonates with that. And I'll just read sort of like the first bit. It's going to be hard not to read it in the rhythm that she says it, but I'm gonna try. So yeah, it's called Home With You, a song by FKA Twigs. And it goes, I'm so wired for it, seen it, tried it. I'd die for you on my terms when I get my lessons learned. Apples, cherries, pain. Breathe in, breathe out, pain. No, Novocaine. Still maintain my grace. How come the more you have, the more that people want from you? More you burn away, the more the people earn from you. The more you pull away, the more that they depend on you. I've never seen a hero like me in a sci-fi, so I wonder if your needs are even meant for me. I wonder if you think that I could ever raise you up. I wonder if you think that I could ever help you fly. Never seen a hero like me in a sci-fi, but I'd save a life if I thought it belonged to you. Mary Magdalene would never let her loved ones down. I didn't know that you were lonely. If you'd have just told me, I'd be home with you. I didn't know that you were lonely. If you'd have just told me, I'd be running down the hills to you. And when I was reading about this song afterwards, I realized she was talking about going back home to herself. And yeah, it's sort of saying, sort of listening to yourself in terms of like, you're lonely and you sort of feel empty, but the only person that can fill that void is yourself. And like come back home to yourself to fill yourself back up, when it feels like the people that are surrounding you are just taking away, and they see you like emptying down and down, and it's like the more that they're clinging and just taking and extracting. So yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily encouraging, but I think it was nice and comforting for me at the time, just to feel like, yeah, like it's not just me, like no, fuck these people. You know.
And that's the power of the lyrics, and is that you know, we all have, I hope, I trust we all have that song that evokes the feelings, that reminds us that these feelings aren't in solitude. Someone else has found a way to express it in a way that when you're in the moment, you can't necessarily. And I think that's why, you know, music is so powerful and so evocative of our feelings. If, you know, you have that heartbreak song that, you know, that you replay on repeat again and again and again and again until the pain subsides, and then you hear it, you know, 5, 4, 6 months, 10 years down the line, and you go, I remember that takes me right back to that place. Then maybe you need to be there you need to sit in it for a minute, or you're more than willing to kind of move past and through it. And I think, I mean, the lyrics of that idea of kind of coming home to yourself, because we do pour a lot of ourselves out in life, work, in relationship, in friendship, in kinship. We keep pouring yourself out. And I love the idea of that kind of, actually, let me just pour back into myself, you know, with all the delicacies, with the fruit, with the cherry, with the things that you give to other people, you know, in, I guess, moments of kindness. It comes back to that kindness of yourself, that element of actually, no, here you go. Let me, if I'd have known, I loved that line you say, I can't say it, I'm paraphrasing, but if I'd have known that you needed, I would have given it to you. So much understanding that, or interpretation of that. So yeah. I should play that track.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, it's really nice. And yeah, nice 2 extracts, even though very different from completely sort of, not necessarily completely different times, but like different generations, but somehow still find.
I mean, she was a victim of DV for quite some time that people weren't aware of. And that trauma in its, you know, like the facade of what we saw as, you know, a performer and an artist, it's so intriguing to look at. And I find that element of it really interesting, is that, you know, when you are a victim of, you know, DV, the idea that you don't have anything left of yourself because you've poured it all out into healing someone or helping someone repatch their hurt or whatever is, again, it takes us back to that whole survival mode. You know, like, how long can I survive in this until I realize that this is not good for me, this is toxic to me, and now I have to, like she says, come back to myself and come back to who me is and the essence of what I need. It's just pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think FK Twigs was also a survivor of DV, or at least sort of like psychological abuse, and I think she was literally coming out of it, I'm pretty sure, around the time that she wrote that music. So I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think that resonating of like pouring yourself out and like forgetting, like, oh my gosh, I'm right here, like, you just tell me that you're lonely and I like just come back to myself. Yeah. Wow. So aside from that, those beautiful extracts, we are here to get to know you a little bit more through the 3 questions. So I'm going to throw in the first question, not my glasses. Who was waiting for you to be born?
That is like such a mind-blowing question. I mean, it's so incredible. I mean, you know, ultimately, I want to say my mum was waiting for me to be born. But it's interesting because my mum's passed away, and in fact, one of the extracts that I read in her eulogy had a line in it which was like, if I never knew you had a life before me, I only knew the life you had with me. And I think that idea of someone I think I have to bring it back to me. I was waiting to be born. I'm continually waiting to be born and reborn. If I put the emphasis on someone else waiting, that means it's like, if I, that line about my, you know, that I just said about, if I knew before me, I've only ever known you with me. So I think I definitely say myself, I have been waiting to be born, and every day, every time I wake up, I'm reborn in a different way. I'm, you know, I have this thing that I say to myself, and I share a lot as well. Everything you are experiencing, everything you are doing, everything you are feeling is part of who you are becoming. And who knows where that will take you, and who knows how and when that will end, but it's all part of this wonderful journey. And I think, so I think I've been waiting for me to be born every single moment that I relive myself, my life, and, you know, I kind of get up. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here and rediscover a new part of me or a different part of me. And that doesn't always happen like every single, it's not a ping or a ha moment. It's just a kind of a reflective thing, when sometimes you kind of sit back and go, look how far. I'm grateful for the bend in the road, but look how far I've come. Look how much I'm through. And I'm still here, and I'm still doing it. So yeah, I've been waiting, born again and again and again and again and again. So yeah.
I love that. I love that you like contextualize it in this constant being born, like when you, I don't know, interact with someone new, you learn something new, or like you just decide to get out of bed. It's like, oh yeah, this continual rebirth over and over again as like we like evolve as human beings. Like, yes, I'm here for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other questions that you asked was, who was waiting for your what did you say? I can't remember the.
Who was holding you tight for you to grow?
That one. I've been held by so and in holding so many people, I've been held, and I can honestly say that I think there was a period. It's very interesting. So I've taught a lot of incredible artists that have gone on to be magnificent practitioners, whether it's through choreography or through acting, with great accolades. And it's funny because when I was launching my most recent project, I asked quite a few of them for testimonials, and all of the testimonials were so beautiful. It's so weird to hear wonderful things said about you in your presence, because we often say it when people have gone. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bonkers thing that we do, and I don't know why human beings do that, but like, actually tell the person while they're there, you know, tell the being while they're there that this is what you love, and this is what you appreciate, and this is what you adore, and this is what, you know, whatever it is. So so it's interesting because a lot of them said they saw me as a mother figure, which I thought was really interesting. So I have 3 sons now, but my oldest one being 11, but before he was born, I just had the one, and for a long time it was just us. And I went through a period where I really wanted to have, and I felt like I had so much love. Like, I actually felt quite sad because I've got all this love, what am I going to do with it? And I just want to make sure, and children, I'm so passionate about young people. And I was like, what would I just got to have? And it's so funny to hear back from those young beings that said they felt so loved by me, because I didn't feel at the time, you know what, going back to that whole survival thing, you don't feel like you're doing it. Obviously, I considered myself to be, you know, want to always be as kind as I humanly can, but clearly they felt the love that I felt. Like, oh, I've just got so much love that it would be amazing to have another child to give that love to, or, you know, to nurture that too. And I wasn't in a position to do that at the time, but clearly I was doing it without being aware of it, and it only retrospectively has come back to me. They just felt, we just felt really held by you, and we felt really seen by you, and we felt really supported by you, and we felt that you believed in us, and, you know, and you never took us for granted. So for me, that, I guess, all the people who have touched my life and whose life I have touched have been waiting for me, and I have been waiting for them. So again, I feel like I'm talking about myself a lot, but it's a rhetorical, a reciprocal force that I think, and energy there. So
Yeah, I love how it's sort of like the 2 questions sort of merge into each other, because it's like they're holding you tight, but you also held them tight. But these people that you have influenced and helped to grow and expand were also waiting for you to be born. So it's like this cycle, this never ending thing that's just continuous.
Yeah. Everything, I go with the mantra that everything happens for a reason. And the tools that we pick up, I mean, as artists, you know, the creative lessons that we learn, we don't always execute them in the next project, but you find that you can go back and you've got this memory bank of, oh, I didn't even know that I needed that until now, and I've got it, and I don't even have to search for it. It's kind of there in my emotional, physical memory. So that exploration of that is just something that I just kind of really hold value. But if I was going to physically give it to a being, I would have to give it to my grandmother, because so my family are from Ghana. We're Ashantis, and so it's a very it's a matriarchal kind of existence in a sense, because all the females in my family inherit from their mothers. So my grandmother was renowned for being this like amazing woman, this cocoa farmer. She bought land, she built houses, she took care of not only her immediate family, but her extended family. And we don't have like, you know, we don't really have cousins. Everybody's your sister or your brother. And this incredible person did everything to make sure that there was something for her girls, her daughters, and in a time when I guess people didn't really do that, or they don't do that in the Western, you know, in a Western capacity. They don't take care of their children in that sense. And I just think it's just incredible that when I think about everything that she set up for all the seeds, yeah, I think I actually wrote a piece and I said, I flower from all of the seeds that came before me from me. Now that know that nothing about me is unintentional. I know and I remember who I am. Powerful is how you may define me. So whoever her seeds became, I just think that powerful is how you may define me, and whatever way you hold your power, whether it be, you know, through physical or emotional or spiritual, or just that idea of a seed that, you know, we all have grown from that. And so that, if there was a person, I would say would be my grandma.
Wow, it's literally like as you talk, and I don't know if it's just because you're also wearing like this golden jumper and like these amazing golden sort of amber glasses, just for the people
The sun in as well.
The sun is streaming and glowing against your skin. But like as you speak, I'm just thinking of like just abundance, you know, like this overwhelming sense of abundance and flowing of generosity and love, and like you say, matriarchy and all of that that's been holding you tight to allow you to also like excel, you know, including my Angelo, she's also in there too. I think that's just so amazing that we look towards these people who didn't feel lack, or their mindset wasn't in lack, it was just abundance and giving.
And that, and that's it. Particularly when we, you know, in the spaces that we find ourselves more and more often, there is a mindset of a lack of, not being enough of, not having enough of, not, you know, coming from enough, however you want to phrase it. To kind of, and the richness of travel gives you that, where you can go into another space and just be appreciated for who you are or where you are. I know you went back to, did you go back to Senegal? You went back to Africa?
Senegal,
that, you know, where you are not the one that looks different.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's a real kind of moment, isn't it? When you look around you and you go, okay, I am not the outsider here.
Yeah, it was such an experience. I feel like me and Mel both grew and expanded so much. It was both of our first time stepping in into West Africa. So like, yeah, I think it was a really important first time for us, and also just how much we learned both from other people, looking at how people hustle over there, how they survive and how they thrive, how they commune with one another, like how they experience art and all of the things, and how it ties into like who I am and where I came from, and yeah, all of the things. It was just such a wild and eye-opening and heart-expanding experience.
Oh, beautiful.
Which I suppose, well, it's not really a lead on, but this is going to lead into the last question of, and I think you've sort of touched on it, but it would be nice to hear more about how to create loving environments in the arts too.
Be kind to yourself. The arts are cruel, like intentionally cruel, because it's funny because Erykah Badu has a saying, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. Like it's you know, we're giving of ourselves, like in a way that nobody else has to do that. You know, a carpenter puts down the tool and the object, but you as an artist are that, you know, depending on whether what medium you express yourself from, but you are effectively the tool, the house, the piece, the everything. So I say be kind to yourself, but also be around other artists, but be aware that hurt people hurt. So if you're around someone whose critique is not about building you, then you're not in the right space. You're not in the right space. And I particularly say that because I've just spent a weekend doing an intensive masterclass, and people saying, oh, well, you know, I want to be around other people, but sometimes they ask, but they're not your people. They're not your people. Your people recognize you in your difference and celebrate that, and are intrigued. I'm always intrigued by people that are passionate. If you're passionate about this pen, there will be a moment where I'll be hugely curious about what it is about this pen that makes you feel so passionate. And so if you're around people that do, it sparks the fires, it sparks the flames, and you can fuel off of that. So I think it is important as artists to make sure that you surround yourself by people that understand you, that understand your need for nurturing your craft, for exploring your craft, for expressing your craft. Be around people that do that. And if you can't physically be around that, find your space and places, find yourself in spaces where you can celebrate that. And it doesn't have to be your medium. Go see an art exhibition, go watch a dance piece, create a piece of poetry, go to a performance. But all of those things are nurture. They are what nourishes you, because the moment we deprive ourselves of the creative energy that is very much our essence, then that's where we find ourselves in places where we feel hollow and we feel not supported and we feel not seen. And no artist wants not to be seen, whether it's by themselves physically or by the pieces that they've created. Because every time you make something, you create something, you give a piece of yourself. You give a piece of yourself. So even if someone comes and says, oh, I don't quite get it, the fact that they've taken the time to explore that, to try to understand that, is nurturing to you, because it's actually, even in this space, somebody is inquisitive about what is my very being. So kindness to yourself is to be around other artists, be around other artists, get involved in, spaces and create forums. If you can't find it out there, create it yourself. My discovery of you and, of B.O.O.K and all the other wonderful artists that you've introduced me from was because I moved Cov in lockdown, and it was a weird time. It was a wonderful time. It was a weird time, but it was like, well, where are all my people? And I spent a lot of time going to and fro to London, but I was like, I found a collective of creative people whose energy and vibe is just so me. And I do say your vibe attracts your tribe. So, you give good energy, you will always find yourself. There will always be that one or two people but positive and negative cannot house themselves in the same cell. So one has to give over. So either you find yourself in spaces that are positive and fill up in that, or you find yourself in spaces that are negative. If so, find the positives that takes over the negative.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important that people understand. I think especially maybe if you're like an emerging artist, which I technically am, but if you're just sort of very new to the arts, or you don't really know anyone around, I think some people think that these mean girl type cliques who are self-deprecating, or think that self-deprecation is this trend, and it's like, well, but they're not going to build you up though, and they're not going to inspire you, and they're not going to nourish you creatively. And it's so, like you say, it's so important, because the art is not, it's not your safe space. It's not gentle. It can be quite brutal. So the people that you surround yourself with are gonna be your support network. And it's so important that, sometimes we have this imposter syndrome. Fair enough, we can work on that, but nobody else needs to be to make that bigger. It just no.
Yeah, and I say that there isn't an artist that I know that doesn't or hasn't had an imposter syndrome, hasn't had a moment of, oh, I'm not good enough to be here, or there's so much more celebrated or understood or creative, or so. But comparison is the thief of joy, because the moment you look at what somebody else is doing, you lose the joy in what you do, and what you do is what holds you, what creates your space, is what sets you apart. You don't need to be anybody else other than yourself. Yourself is so much more than enough. But it is but that comes from learning to be kind to yourself, and that comes from learning to, we work in an environment where rejection is easily garnished. It's the thing that they put on top of it, whether it is an application, for funding for a brilliant idea that you've got, whether it is, somebody critiquing your piece that doesn't understand it. there is always someone that is going to sprinkle rejection on what you do. And so it's so important that you have those people that can hold you in the space where you go, actually, even if they don't get it, you do. And even if you don't get, you're going to cheer me on until I do what I need to do. So that's how I would say. I'm very passionate. Sorry, I could talk for a long time about artists holding space and having space and being able to kind of, you know, replenish themselves, because you're giving and giving and giving of your craft in a way that doesn't reciprocate. You're not doing it for the finances because they are inconsistent, and even if, you know, they're there, you're doing it for the love, for the passion, which is raw, which is a piece of you. You can't love or be passionate about something unless you're giving of yourself. If you're giving of yourself, you have to be kind in that. So I guess we found a way to kind of go right back to the beginning of, actually, you know, what you have. It begins with kindness to yourself. What you do, create. It begins with being gentle. And even in your kindness, even if you're, you know, if you're growing a seed, there comes a time where you have to water it, and then you have to kind of encourage it, but you also have to let it just be. Just let
definitely. Yeah.
When you know it's enough. When we don't think we're enough, we're busy. Like when I'm really nervous, I just talk really fast, because I feel like if I fill up the air, if I fill up the space, nobody will know. And it's actually so obvious. And that's the same thing when you can just be doing your thing, knowing that actually, even if only 2 people come or 3 people come and see it or explore it, they have tasted what I've created. That's my meal. That's my artistic food. That's my, you know, my music for the ears, whatever it is that you do. So yeah, sorry.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm like holding on to what you say about, you know, us as artists, it's our whole, it's our body, it's our emotions, it's our psyche. These are what we are using. Those are our tools. So when we create something, we are giving, like we are offering a part of ourselves, which is why it's so important. It's like, I don't know, artistic hygiene or artistic maintenance to pour back into yourself. Yeah. And like, I think we all know that obviously being kind to yourself isn't as easy as just saying that you are and then you will. It is really that process, that slow, laborious process that takes time and time and time. But like when you get there, it's just, it's so fulfilling, because you are more, you're just full most of the time. Do you know what I mean? You're not running on empty, just giving and getting validation through throwing pieces and chunks of yourself outward, because like, you're just running on gas and vibes.
And that's it. I think, you know, it's the good vibes that you want. It's the good energy that you want. It's that energy that is, you know, productive. And when I say productive, I mean in a nurturing sense. You know, it's like, you know, if your masterpiece takes you 6 years or 60 years, whatever it takes, it's about being productive and knowing that that's being productive, not that you have to kind of, you know, in a time where everything is like so fast, everything is done so quickly, people want the immediate response of something. And so there is an urgency that doesn't always allow us time, because, you know, art in itself is about development. It's about exploration. You know, it's about an understanding. It's about passion. It's about a moment of developing, creating something. All of those things take time. How long that time is like a piece of string that, you know, for some people it's very short, for some people it's, you know, it's a lifelong exploration. But in order to have that, you have to be kind enough to say to yourself, I don't have to do this for any other being other than myself. And in myself, I am creating for myself. And in creating for myself, I am giving something out to whoever wants to receive it, whoever needs to. It's like, you know, the words that Maya Angelou wrote, FK Twigs lyrics, they gave them a piece of themselves to us that we recognize, actually. Oh, that's where I need to be held in this moment. That's where I need to get, that's the reminder to get back to myself. That's the reminder that home is me. I am me. I am home.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. I feel like I mean, obviously, it's always a pleasure talking to a fellow Aries, but I feel like there's something about coming back to the self and the I that is so important, that I feel like this whole conversation is sort of like centered around, which I think is important. And yeah, coming back to the self, coming back to yourself feels like the main like recurring thing, and that kindness and self-nourishment that no one else can give you but yourself. So yeah, thank you so much for conversing with me. I feel like I've a little bit of your sunshine with me.
No, spend all day, all night, all morning, all evening just talking to you. You are divine. You absolutely are divine. And yeah, I thank you for your energy. I think it's so incredible. You just have this energy that is just like, well, it's an Aries thing. I think like attracts, but you know, yes, you intrigue me in wonderful ways, and I am so pleased to know you and to get to know you, and look forward to being in your company again soon. So yes, thank you. But thank you for the opportunity to be a part of B.O.O.K. is, you know, building knowledge for ourselves is so important. So and to recognize that, you know, we are the bricks, we are the foundation, we are the source, the cement, the seal, the warmth, the, you know, we are everything that we need and more. So it's a powerful thing that you're doing, and I just want more and more people, more and more beings to be able to access and understand and actually appreciate what you do.
Of the masculine, to find truth in the fluid that I bask within. A sweet taste in my mouth again. You paint sin on my lips when you ask again. It's like I only exist when I'm casket thin of porcelain. Years trying to force the fit, of course I quit. I don't sleep if the morning is all been lit. I eat dawn like it's over easy. It's over easy, like the flow is breezy, like the shoulder's easy, but the focus ain't. I shrank myself, I hid from myself, I never chose desire because the cold and shame was so known and safe. Or so I thought, so a little spark never goes away. A fire in the belly can erode the cage, I watch butterflies dance in the flame. Hey, loose in pursuit of the masculine, to find truth in the fluid that I bask within. A sweet taste in my mouth again, you paint sin on my lips when you ask again. It's like I only exist when I'm casket thin of porcelain. Years trying to force the fit, of course I quit. I don't sleep if the morning is all been lit. I eat dawn like it's over easy. Come on. You might catch me switching, you might catch me simping, you might see some king shit, you won't catch me slipping, catch me in my feelings, say something revealing, not afraid of being seen, you won't catch me slipping, come and catch me, yeah, come and catch me, yeah, come on, come on, come on, come on, come and catch me, yeah, come on, come on, come on, come on, yeah, pleasure mixed with discomfort often, it's the same shame we might get off on, scorch my organs, they felt so awful, is this flesh all we have to offer, wipe me clean with pristine and proper, like we ate spit some filth and pop off, silver tongue tend to taste like copper, lightning rod, yeah, it blow my socks off.